from Complex Simplicity. Hope that you had an amazing day today. Wednesday is vastly approaching. We're getting to the middle of the week. And I tell you, every time I try to think of new ways to dance to the theme song, your girl ends up doing the same old dances. Bear with me, folks. So I wanted to do a vlog regarding the footnotes to Jay-Z's album 444. Just so you know, a little history on me, on your girl. I was always the type where if I bought a DVD of a movie that I loved, if I bought a DVD of a concert I loved, if I downloaded an album of an artist that I loved and there was behind the scene footage, I lived for it. You have no idea. Like, that would get me like uber hyped to be able to see the making of whatever the bomb art was that they did. And so, of course, when I found out that there were some footnotes released to the 444 iconic 13th studio album of my favorite rapper, Jay-Z, I was very hyped. And then I was even more gratified when I realized that it was really like a powwow. Sorry, my computer, y'all. It was really like a powwow with Jay-Z, some of his industry friends, maybe people we also don't know, giving their perspective on what the black man goes through in relationships with women and why at times it can be easy for them to find themselves in the situations of how they're treating their woman not so great or poorly based off of a myriad of factors. And you know, I talk about this stuff on the website, so anything that's thought-provoking that has to do with relationships, I'm there, right? And so Jay-Z made a lot of great points. He had Omari Hardwick, Kendrick Lamar, Chris Rock, Tata, who's like his right-hand man, Will Smith, and the list goes on. Chris Paul, the NBA player, where everybody was able to give their own little perspective about, you know, what they've gone through, the mistakes that they have made, and the lessons that they had to learn as men as it pertains and relates to them being in healthy, successful relationships with their significant others. And so what I liked that Jay-Z said, because Jay-Z is not one to be vulnerable like that, and I love that he was very transparent in this album, and he continued that level of transparency in the behind the scenes footage. And he was saying, you know, that with him and Beyonce, no doubt he loves her and cared about her. He was into her. I think she was the woman that had his interest in who he really felt that kind of love for out of everyone that he might have dealt with in life. But what he was saying was that because he wasn't fully mature and really ready for what it took to be in a relationship, furthermore marriage, that could have been why things kind of panned out with what they went through with the infidelity, right? And so he was saying pretty much that, you know, things went fast and they dated for a while, they got married, and then he and Beyonce, it's like they had this beautiful mansion, this beautiful house. This is like metaphoric, right? Because Hov is a lyricist, very metaphorical. But they had like this beautiful mansion home that wasn't built on a foundation of truth, which is so true, y'all. For those who want to get married and for those who probably are married already, it's very important that relationships are built on strong, sturdy foundations. And in order for a foundation to be strong and sturdy, that I've learned in my lifetime and in my marriage, is transparency, honesty, respect, loyalty, the list goes on. But that level of honesty has to be there. And honesty, not just with one another, that's absolutely important, but also being honest with yourself. You know, things that you need to get better at, things that you, how you may need to meet your spouse or your significant other's needs in a more meaningful way for them. You know, like it's a lot. Being able to be honest to yourself about your feelings, what you're feeling in your relationship, you know, being who you are, right? And so because he probably wasn't really putting his wall down, because he did say that, because he didn't really have his wall down completely, meaning emotionally with Beyonce, it makes sense why things panned out the way they did, where they went through that hiccup in the road. Now, we all know all marriages go through things, right? There are a lot of people in this world who have experienced infidelity in their marriage, which is like uber hurtful, I could presume. And so he said that they had to tear that wall down and rebuild, but rebuild with a stronger foundation. So I appreciated the fact that he said that. When you hear it from an icon, a legend, a billionaire, right? It's like, wow, I'm so glad he said that. So everybody, regular folks in the world, regular men in the world, women understand that regardless of how successful you are, what you have, if your foundation in your relationship is not sturdy, you're going to have a lot of problems. You may not be able to withstand all of what can come your way. Another thing that I like that he said, he dug even deeper. I'm all about digging deeper, where he's like, I didn't have a relationship with my pops, right? All true Jay-Z fans know. He's always been very clear about this. He alluded to it, transparent about the fact that he didn't have a relationship at all with his dad. His dad was like almost a non-existent factor in his life, wasn't really there. And so for men, their first example of how they're supposed to treat a woman is them seeing how their father treats their mom. Now, if their parents are not together, then it's them seeing how their father treats whoever he's with, right? And so that something about them seeing that example is supposed to help them to understand how to cater to a woman's needs emotionally, how to treat a woman overall. Now, of course, men have a serious connection with their mom. Most men who have healthy relationships with their moms, it's like a bond that I'm told that is just like none other, right? So in that aspect, most men will know, and this is something that Meek Mills actually said. He said, growing up, especially in the hood, you only learn, the woman that you're supposed to treat like a peer, the woman who's supposed to get the most and everything from you is your mother, right? And somewhere there's this disconnect where it's not also taught that your mom is who you treat with utmost respect, and guess what? Your wife, or your woman. And so that's already an early disconnect. So with Hov not having the foundation even in his home, the example with his dad, to really learn and understand what it is to be a man and how to treat a woman and how that works, that dynamic works in a relationship, that already put him at a deficit, so to speak. And a lot of men out there, especially men of color, I'm pretty sure can relate with what he was saying, And when I say it's like an example, it's, as I always say, even with how my dad taught me how I'm supposed to be treated by a man, it's like, not that my dad always said, Chanel, never let a man treat you like this. He's had his moments where he said that. But a lot of what I learned was through his behavior and how he treated my mother and how he treated me. And so a lot of the teachings are also unspoken. It's not always verbal conversations. Those are there, but a lot of it is also learned behavior. We kind of are built to emulate what we see our parents do. They're our first examples of everything in the world, And so I appreciated the fact that he dug deeper and took it there to say, listen, this was kind of what my situation was. So because I didn't have a dad in my life, it kind of already set me back in understanding how to be that man in a relationship with the woman you love. You had Omari Hardwick. He made a great point as well. He was like, listen, as a man, at some point in your life, you're supposed to click and get to the point where you're like, the sexiest thing about a woman is how she thinks, her mind, right? It's not just about her body, not just about how she looks, it's how she thinks. You know what I'm saying? It's the woman that gives you that challenge. That's normally who you're like, something about her. I may want to lock it down with her. Not the woman that throws you the booty, the woman who is able to respect herself, a woman who gives you a challenge, doesn't make it that easy for you, a woman who has a mind of her own and her own level of intelligence. That's what men find sexy. I was just talking earlier today with a coworker about how we as women, society has built us to feel like the only thing a man will find sexy about us is our body, how we look. Do we have a big booty? Do we have big chest, right? Do we have that stomach on flat, right? Do we have that silky hair? Do we have that exotic look? Do we have, that type of skin tone that seems to be more attractive to men out here? And a lot of times, as my husband used to always say, y'all women are crazy, because at the end of the day, if a man is into you and he loves you, regardless of whether you have a muffin top or a flat stomach, regardless of whether your body, you may not have that perfectly round booty, right? He's gonna be with you. He said, now let's not get nothing twisted. What I love about my husband is he's very honest, right? Let's not get anything twisted. If your body is not in the greatest shape, deep down inside, a man will more than likely wish and hope that one day you'll start hitting that gym or changing your lifestyle to get into better shape. But if that man really loves you, that's not going to hinder him from locking it down with you. A man wants a woman who has sustenance, not just a beautiful being or a beautiful packaging where there are no brains, nothing to talk about. When I first started dating my husband, he used to always say, I love women that have great conversation. Like, there has to be other things that are stimulated other than my penis. Like, it can't just be about physical. Of course, in some way that's important, but you have to stimulate my mind. We have to like see the world or agree about enough of the important things, share perspective with one another. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many other factors. You know, another thing that I love is the fact that some of the guys were saying men need to be needed too. You know what I'm saying? We want to be loved. And I think we as women can forget that sometimes. Men have needs that are not just sexual. Men have needs, emotional needs, that need to be met as well. So a lot of men want to feel like their woman is going to cater to them, meaning their woman is also going to support them, be loyal, ride out with them, right? Be affectionate with them. Like, men have needs. Society teaches us that, you know, men are rational. They're not emotional. You know, one of the other guys said men are emotional. We do have emotions. You know what I'm saying? And yes, men are thought of being more of the rational beings, but guess what? They're also very emotional. Women, we're very emotional, but guess what? We also could be very rational, you know? And so it's not, I don't think, fair for us as women to only, you know, to disregard the fact that there's certain things that men need from us that are not just sex, right? It's more to relationships and marriages than sex that's going to keep it going. You know, I've known people who've had relationships where it sounded like they were swinging from the chandeliers. Y'all would have thought like, oh, y'all ain't never leaving each other. It sounds like y'all sex life is on a whole other level. But let me tell you, the relationship didn't last. Why? Because it takes more than sex to make a marriage or relationship work, you know? And so I think that it was great that these guys, whether they were in the spotlight or celebrities or not, were sharing their perspectives. You know, Guru, who is, he's like the musical engineer for every Jay-Z album. You know, he's like, yo, what I love, the line that he said in 444, is the fact that he would be ashamed if his kids found out what he did to their mom. And he said, for anybody that's a parent out there, that is like a pivotal, important, big time line. He said, because there are a lot of times, you know, where you may be arguing and you're trying to keep it down. You don't want the kids to hear or know that there's discord between the two of you, or that the two of you are like on the verge of Splitsville, you know, and not wanting to disappoint your children and have to give them some level of an answer as far as that the family is breaking up because of some ish you did. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I love to kind of hear the perspectives of men, and